Hello, I'm Bookface, and today we're talking about
vampires.
Last year we talked about, the vampire legend as a whole. I go watch that. But this time we're talking about some different kinds of vampires, because there are a lot of them. Some get kinda weird, but for the most part they all drain blood and are generally something you want to avoid. So with that out of the way, let's jump right in. Woo! First up, we have the Children of Judas, which is a form of vampire from Serbia, Romania, and Bulgaria. He had red hair, because many believe that the biblical Judas also had red hair. And apparently, some sources claim that in biblical times, red hair indicated hidden evil nature. Dang, y'all really don't like redheads. The Children of Judas would kill their victims with a single bite instead of repeatedly feeding like most vampires. And the bite...
Was that the bite of 87?
And the bite would have the Latin 30, which of course is XXX. The reason being that Judas betrayed Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. Funny, since most vampires actually hate silver. So masochism? Additionally, their bite was actually referred to as a kiss, since that's what Judas did. So it's a bite on the neck, but it's also a kiss. So a hickey. This video went in a weird direction. Well, vampires are known for the suck. Some also connect Judas to vampires because during the Last Supper, he was thought to have drank from Jesus' cup, which was stated to be his blood. Because, the Last Supper's analogy, symbolism. But here's the thing. It's important to note that in the Last Supper, I'm pretty sure that was referring to all the wine. I don't think it was specifically just that cup. Jesus also said, drink this. So that doesn't really make sense. Next up, we have the Strigoi.
Hey there, demons. It's me.
The Strigoi, which is a form of vampire from Romanian myth, thought to be troubled souls that have risen from the dead. These undead creatures would then stalk and torment their living family members. Family picnics must be a little difficult for them, especially since some of the family would probably be the picnic. However, it is possible for a Strigoi to be born of a living human under certain conditions. That being, if they are the seventh son in a line of sons, or seventh daughter in a line of daughters. They can also be created if they live a life of sin. Breaking news from somebody who is a Christian: literally everyone sins. That's kind of the nature of sin. But they can also be born in death if someone dies unmarried, from execution, perjury, suicide, or a witch's curse. Funny how a lot of those are like actual crimes or like magic or just something you want to avoid. Meanwhile, you can just be a vampire from being forever alone. I'm in danger. Okay, but here's the thing. What if you were married at one point and your partner dies and you don't remarry? Technically, when you die, you would be unmarried. Does that mean you'd be a Strigoi? These are the important questions. It was thought that someone was more likely to become a Strigoi if they had red hair. Why all this hate for redheads? They were thought to have the ability to transform into an animal or become invisible, and they also became stronger after drinking blood. Some, however, connected Strigoi to witches and warlocks, and some would dunk suspected Strigoi much like they would typically do with witches. And this was actually thought by some to be simply a different form of Strigoi, separate from the undead variety. Are they heavier or lighter than a duck? The process to kill a Strigoi is that you need to dig up the Strigoi, remove its heart, cut it in half, slam a nail into its skull, put garlic in its mouth, smear its body with fat of a pig killed on St. Ignatius Day, and then lay it face down in the coffin so it goes down in the afterlife instead of rising. That is very elaborate. Also, I love this repeated thing that if you bury somebody upside down, then they won't know which direction to rise in. Like, that is some A+ logic right there. You see, they want to rise from the grave, but if they're upside down, they sink further into the ground. Also, yeah, that's a little too much. Just use dynamite. That should work fine. It's the best insecticide, so it probably works on vampires too. Vampires and ants are the same thing, right? Lastly, we have the Nelopsy, which is a vampire from Slovakian myth that has 2 hearts and 2 holes. 2 holes? Oh, gosh. That has 2 hearts and 2 souls. Wow, that really ups the stakes. They were believed to kill entire villages and their livestock. Death.
On you!
Death.
On your cow!
This vampire is actually thought to fall on its victims, suffocate them, and then suck their blood, hugging them to death. Or just sitting on their face. Of course, it can also kill its victims with a single glance. Yet another reason I avoid eye contact on principle. Definitely not just social anxiety.
Don't look at me.
Also, if it can just, look at people and they die, why does it need to smother them? Does it just really enjoy sitting on faces? There were several signs to see if a corpse was going to turn into a Nelopsy, such as if their body was not becoming stiff after death, if if the face was not pale, plot twist, and if its eyes were open. Okay, so the eyes are open in the grave. So does that mean that if you just, like, look in the grave, you'll die because technically it looked at you? Hey, is its eyes... I think we know its eyes were open. There were many ways to prevent an analopsy from rising. Mostly making sure that it doesn't have red hair, because apparently those guys suck. Such as moving the corpse's coffin out of the house head first and hitting it against the threshold. Okay, first of all, rude. Also, I feel like someone just did that on accident and just used it to cover. That's actually a good thing to do because, they don't become a vampire. Yeah, see, that's what you gotta do. You gotta accidentally knock their head into the threshold. This is big brain strategies right here. You could also stab the corpse in the heart or chest with an iron wedge, hat pin, or a stake made of hawthorn, blackthorn, or oak wood. Apparently there are a lot of options. Just stab it and you're fine. Additionally, placing Christian symbols or herbs over the grave are thought to prevent it from rising. Too much spice for me, I gotta stay down. Too spicy. And after burying the corpse, everyone who participated needed to wash their hands. That's kind of good practice in general if you're handling a corpse, especially in the current state of the world. But yeah, you should always gotta wash your hands after dealing with a corpse. And if you use these measures on a body after it is suspected to have become an analopsy, then blood will flow from the heart when it's pierced. Additionally, it will look, quote, ruddy, which is some old, very common vampire-y word for healthy looking. Maybe I'm just dumb, but I'm always confused when I hear that word. Is that a word people actually use? What's happening? And there you have 3 forms of vampires. This video got a lot more inappropriate than I was expecting. If you like this video, please leave a thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye!